At 10, Elizabeth Afton. Elizabeth is at the top of this list because, well, she got killed, but she also doesn't really seem to deserve it until after she gets killed, and then she deserves the spring locking. Which, I mean, in a way makes sense, and it's something that I've been using as evidence when it comes to who I think the vengeful spirit is. Because, you know, spirits, when they're, being spirits for longer periods of time, would understandably start to go crazy, or even crazier, and this is an idea that Supernatural, the show, has used in length. And the same idea, though, could be applying to Elizabeth and Crying Child. Just because you start off good or loving your father doesn't mean that you'll continue to see things that way in a few years' time. And Elizabeth, while not deserving a spring locking in 1983 when she dies, definitely deserves one come sister location in FNAF 6. I mean, she literally betrays her brother and sister location, nearly killing him, and then, again, she also betrayed him, and then in FNAF 6, she wants to make her father proud. Her murderous, psychopathic father. She wants to make him proud. Considering how you've been possessing an animatronic that he made that caused you to die, that he made, I think that you would have already made him pretty proud, I guess. It's a damn shame that you turned into this, but whatever. In at 9, Mr. Hippo. Okay, this is kind of a joke number, but also not, because Mr. Hippo is literally the worst thing ever in Ultimate Custom Night. Mr. Hippo is a viable animatronic from FNAF 6 that returns as an antagonist in Ultimate Custom Night. Okay, Mr. Hippo will climb through the duct systems trying to reach one of the 2 hoses in the office. Hoses? Is that right? I don't know. I just copied and pasted that line from the wiki. The player needs to use an audio lure to keep him in place and to move him around so that they can use the heater to push him back, and he is fooled 100% of the time by the audio lure. Also is fooled faster than Helpy Frog. However, most of the scare factor from this animatronic doesn't come from their behavior or their design. This time around, rather, their death lines. Cause you see, Mr. Hippo has a knack for going on about things. A lot. Okay, it's like me on a first date. Still, he will go into like 5-minute long speeches that you have to deal with every time he kills you. Meaning that if you get jump scared, you're boned for enough time to make a sandwich, okay? Which is annoying as hell. Getting killed by him enough will eventually cause you to end up agreeing with me that he needs to be spring locked. Because you end up knowing what comes after the smoke of the jump scare clears, and it's just pain. In at 8, Roxy. Okay, I know that Roxy and Mr. Hippo are animatronics and incapable of actually feeling pain because of a spring locking, but honestly, I also just hate this kind of person. The self-centered tool bag who only cares about themselves, whether they secretly hate themselves or not. That's not what matters here, okay? Who you are and what kind of person you are is defined by how you treat others and who you are when the pressure is on. And Roxy is just horrible. And while they may not be able to feel pain from the spring locking, at least Roxy will be contained if they got spring locked, okay? And honestly, that's what I need. I don't want to deal with this personality type. I've dealt with enough people like this throughout my life, and I'm still only 22 goddamn years old, which means that I'm really fed up with this shit. So yeah, there's not much else to say with this one other than I want her to be restrained so that I don't have to deal with her. So yeah, that's it. That's the number. What are you still doing here? Go to the next one. In at 7, Norman Osborn. Another suggestion from Amanda that I'm surprised I didn't think of first. Norman Osborn being the Green Goblin, but also the CEO of a very successful company, it seems like these two share a lot of the same ideas, or I guess rather the same concepts. Business owner who by night is evil and wreaks havoc without anyone really knowing it. But despite their secrecy, eventually people catch on and find out their secrets. Superpowers in the form of a goblin serum or being possessed by your dead son. So the two characters at the fundamental level are actually very much alike. The specifics aren't, which is really what threw me off, but it's a part of why we wanted Willem Dafoe to play Afton in the FNAF movie, right? Because he played this kind of character before with Norman. Plus, Norman and Afton kind of sound the same, just a little bit though. Osborn and William don't. But William and Willem do, so who knows at this point. In at 6, FNAF cops. The cops in the FNAF universe are absolutely the most moronic bunch of people I have ever, I guess, not seen, but heard of, honestly. Like, yeah, I get that they couldn't catch William for story purposes, but that seemingly was retconned, since in the first game they said that they had made an arrest. They could have ended it right there. The story could have been over, but they couldn't find the bodies, so they let him go. Yeah, ignore the animatronics that smell like death, are leaking blood and other bodily fluids, and that many parents have compared to reanimated corpses. Those don't have anything to do with this scenario. Yeah, totally. And even when they find baby's blueprints and see that she has a child storage tank, they don't do anything more than question him. Quote, "There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state of the art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those." Dude, arrest him! And search the bloody, rotten body smelling animatronics. God damn it, how hard is this? Okay, if it's a crime scene or a suspected crime scene, come on, if it's a crime scene, you don't need to have a warrant, for fuck's sakes, okay? They all deserve spring lockings for the sheer stupidity alone. I'm surprised that they didn't crawl into one and then get killed by it just because they're that damn stupid. Halfway through into number 5, the Blob. The Blob is a massive sized proportion of wire, tentacles, and animatronic parts with possession of many glowing red eyes, because of course it does. The Blob's main head has a mask identical to that of Funtime Freddy instead of Molten Freddy, with black eyes and pinkish red glowing pupils, and the endo face reveals to have metal plates rather than wire tubes as well, which is also confusing. Their body has a large black mass made of tentacle wires, and it appears to be a larger version of Molten Freddy after the pizzeria simulator fire. But again, it's Funtime Freddy's face, which doesn't make sense. It's also far more grotesque and mixed with parts of other animatronics and endoskeletons. If you look closely, you can see older animatronics like Circus Baby, Puppet, Chica, Mangle, Bonnie, several Endo Mark IIs, and probably many others on the actual inside. However, this dude thing is creepy as all living hell. And while they haven't done much since they haven't been in the series much, I still don't like them. Currently, all they've really done is either kill Gregory or potentially save William. Some people like to believe that the Blob killed William, but I'm only going to be certain that he's dead when he dies on screen. So the Blob pulling Afton away from a fire that he could have just left him at and let the bastard burn makes them a villain in my eyes. Also, we know that they're meant to be evil. It just looks like a giant black Freddy flubber booger. In it for Vanessa. I feel like this one is kind of obvious, and you may get mad at me for saying this, but Vanessa deserves to be spring locked, man, okay? You're probably thinking, but she's possessed, you moron. She doesn't have control over her actions. But that's the thing. She does. Vanessa has no willpower to sacrifice herself for the greater good, okay? At this point, I think that it's safe to infer that Jeremy from FNAF VR didn't go crazy because he just saw a glitch trap. It's fairly reasonable to say that he got possessed. Tape Girl hadn't broken glitch trap into the tapes yet, and he was probably just able to possess whoever he wanted. So if Jeremy did get possessed, and the possession worked in a similar way that it does with Vanessa, which would make sense, Jeremy would at times be sentient and in control of his own body. So if he knew about glitch trap, maybe he didn't cut his face off because he was freaking out like he had just taken the Epsom salt because you use it in the bath. Maybe he did it to try and kill the monster that was inside of him, okay? So if Vanessa had the gall, Afton wouldn't really have a vessel, okay? Especially since the VR game at this point was probably abandoned. But she won't. But she won't do it. So she deserves to be spring locked. Getting close to the end in number 3, Joey Drew Studios. Joey Drew Studios, from the Bendy and the Ink Machine series, also known as The Workshop and The Old Workshop, is an American corporation and animation studio established in 1929. This is where he and his friend Henry Stein, along with all the other workers, collaborated for 30 years before the studio's downfall, producing a series of Bendy cartoons. In 1946, Joey Drew Studios was under investigation after reports of hazardous work environments, missing employees, harassment, and excessive back pay, as well as the company's danger of being bankrupt. All of which are the result of Joey's mismanagement of the studio. Anonymous employees threatened to make labor unions over the poor conditions, which included unpermitted buildings, hazardous electrical wiring, and a plumbing system prone to bursting, which sounds exactly like the working conditions that would be in some form of Fazbear establishment. Plus, there's a machine that takes human souls and turns them into ink monsters, like how the animatronics get infused with the souls of the missing children. I feel like that connection was kind of expected on the list. Penultimately, in number 2, Henry. Yes, I'm going to continue the Henry hate train. Choo choo, get on board, motherfucker. because despite how many people try and defend him, I will never stand down. I don't get what Henry's deal is, because he does not kill William at any point in the series aside from trying to make it look like a fire did it. But William is already considered dead. How would you killing him make things suspicious? So why would you try to cover it up with a fire? For some reason, okay, he seems to be fine offing William's son when he gets the chance though. I mean, in both of the fires that Henry has set that we see, FNAF 3 and FNAF 6, Michael was there both times. And he didn't seem to care that Michael was in the building either time, okay? He doesn't even give Michael the opportunity to leave in FNAF 6 despite there having been a way out planned. Quote from Henry's final speech: "And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be." You have a feeling? What are you, the black eye frickin' peas? He assumes that we also want to die in these halls, but doesn't give us the chance to actually make that decision for ourselves. He just forces us to die, since he doesn't give us a way out. Okay? That's murder! Whether we wanted it or not. Okay, assisted suicide is still illegal in the majority of states, I'm pretty sure, okay? But even then, not giving us the choice, even just assuming that we want it, makes it a murder. Instead of like having the fire burn the building down, or having baby lob his head off, okay? He should have had to suffer a spring lock failure just so that he could see how easy it would have been just to off Afton directly instead of trying to do it like a coward.
In 10, phone guy. While in the end the phone guy wasn't the killer, he still isn't very helpful in the long run considering how he says we aren't really gonna get killed. Well, okay, look, he warns us to be careful, but he doesn't really say, oh yeah, you'll die. I don't like him, okay? He should have done more than just say, be careful, it's trial and error, which is in essence what he said. Because honestly, after surviving this job for so long, you'd think that whoever this phone guy is would have some goddamn tips on how not to die, but he just gives us the freaking company history. Bro, I don't care if one of the animatronics bit someone, okay? They're trying to actually kill me. What do I do? Like, someone's head got bit 5 years ago, okay? I don't care. They're trying to eat my brain, okay? My Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie and my animatronic flip-flops, you pretentious phone guy, okay? Why don't you come and keep this job so that I don't have to put my life at risk, huh? I don't care if you're dead. Come on, you stupid mother. And at 9, Michael Afton. Now, while Michael Afton is seen as the hero of the story, trying to shut down William's criminal spree despite being his child and whatnot, in my eyes, Michael is also a villain, because this kid is the reason there is a FNAF story to begin with, okay? Look, if this kid had just offed himself or ended up dying like his siblings, nobody would have been around to tell the story of the Aftons. We don't even know if Henry would have been trying to stop William without Michael bringing attention to it, okay? And considering how this channel has made over 400 FNAF videos at this current moment, those are all because Michael Afton just had to keep on kicking instead of kicking the bucket. We've made over 400 FNAF videos total, but in rough estimates, currently I've posted around 300 of those, which is actually insane and honestly scary as hell. And all of this because Michael just had to chase dear old dad and try to ruin him. If you put that effort into becoming like the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment once your father disappeared, maybe you could have done more good, okay? Afton would have been stuck in Fazbear Frights' room forever, and you could have stopped the company at its roots and then turned it into something maybe more productive. And it ain't Glamrock Freddy. This is another character that is intended to be a friendly one but ends up doing more harm than good. The existence of Glamrock Freddy in Security Breach is a good thing. He serves as your protector and is the first really friendly animatronic in the games, but he makes himself a villain in my eyes just by being stupid. He could have just left Gregory in his stomach cavity and then gone about the night and kept him safe until it was 6 a.m. But instead, he makes me go through this whole damn pointless goose chase just for the doors to reopen at 6 a.m. again. Why couldn't I have just chilled in his green room, okay? The curtains were closed, Vanessa and Vanny didn't know where I was. Realistically, I should have just stayed in there until 6 a.m. and then I could have made a break for the doors. I didn't get out any faster by doing this, like Freddy said I would. Like, for game purposes, you have to go through this in order for time to progress, but if I had just chilled in Freddy's green room, technically, I could have waited until 6 and I'd be fine. Like, that's what should have happened. And since it didn't, Glamrock Freddy is a villain. And it's 7, Cassidy.
Cassidy. Some say that Cassidy was spring-locked, but honestly, there isn't really much evidence for that. But you know what? If she wasn't, she damn well deserves to be. And why, you ask? How could a little girl who got killed and then go on to possess the killer so he could suffer for all eternity deserve such a fate as a spring locking? Well, exactly for the reason you listed. Because everyone thinks that Cassidy is the vengeful spirit, aka the one you should not have killed, aka the one who possesses Afton to make him suffer. But when you look at it logically, taking into consideration more than just what Matt Patton says, it would make more sense for Crying Child to be the vengeful spirit. But nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody wants to hear even my suggestions because of Cassidy. The amount of hate that I have gotten in the comments, in my DMs, on TikTok for God's sakes, is more than I have gotten for anything else. Even more than I got for suggesting that Michael was a Crying Child robot. Just because William didn't kill Crying Child directly does not mean that he couldn't possibly blame the man who made the robot and gave it enough power to crush a skull for his death. Because, you know, that wouldn't normally be required. Plus, Cassidy only has significance because you think she's the vengeful spirit. Take that away, and what importance does she have? Exactly. So, just for that, and for hardly anyone being willing to even hear me out, Cassidy damn well deserves it. Honestly, she could be higher on the list, but I wanted to rant about other people a little bit more. So yeah, there you go.
And at 6, Ennard. While certainly creepy as a Ennard isn't all that scary in my opinion. He's certainly scary looking, but as a villain, all Ennard wants to do is escape. And once they do, and your flesh suit draws too much attention, they bail. Their only crime really is hijacking your body without your consent. But other than that, they don't really seem to do anything major. Baby ends up separating from them before they do anything crazy, and after Sister Location, the next time we see them is in Pizzeria Simulator, and between those two games, they seemingly don't have any kills under their belt. Why they wanted to escape only to later not do anything is one question, but in reality, since they don't do anything, we're really safe around them. Well, until they start trying to kill us in Pizzeria Simulator, but honestly, they didn't want us dead in Sister Location, so I think that they're pretty chill. However, there is the possibility of them being filled with the remnant of the original Missing Children animatronics, but that's in the novels, so there's no way of proving that this is truly the case with the games. Halfway through into number 5, Elliot Ludwig. Elliot Ludwig is a recurring character in Poppy Playtime. He is most known for his position as both the founder and overseer of Playtime Co. Elliot Ludwig is an old man with light skin, blackish hair, and an unknown eye color, probably brown, given that I think it's the most common eye color. He's seen wearing a suit during the first VHS tape in the beginning of Chapter 1, A Tight Squeeze, which seems to be an old Playtime Co. commercial for Poppy herself and for the factory tours that were once held there, where in this video he is engulfed in purple light, which is certainly an interesting moment, one that I even pointed out in our Poppy Playtime playthrough video. Not to mention the whole he puts people in toys thing, like how William put people in animatronics, plus Elliot probably put his daughter into Poppy, much like how Afton's daughter Elizabeth ended up becoming Circus Baby, and then Elliot sealed his daughter away, and Afton put Baby in Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, which we visit in Sister Location. So, yeah, like this. And at 4, Scott Cawthon. Now I could say that Scott Cawthon is the villain because he made the series and continued it after he originally intended to end it, and thus caused me to have to talk about these theories for 8 hours a day, at least 5 days a week. However, this can get even more meta than that. I could say that Scott Cawthon in-universe made FNAF games, which also helped to contribute to Fazbear Entertainment coming back and reopening yet again with the Pizzaplex. But again, I can get even more meta than that, believe it or not, because way deep in the infamous FNAF world game, Scott Cawthon is the final boss, or at least his avatar is. And you know what? I think that deserves number 4. Anim Dude, otherwise known as Scott Cawthon, the storyteller or Omega Scott in the game files, or the Puppet Master by 8-Bit Fredbear, is the main antagonist and final boss of FNAF World. He can only be fought in hard mode, after beating security and entering the tent afterwards. His appearance is a 3-dimensional representation of Scott Cawthon's icon avatar, which originally came from one of his previous games called There Is No Pause Button. But either way, he was the main antagonist of FNAF World, so it counts. Getting close to the end into number 3, Gregory. The way I see it, Gregory is such a stuck-up little shit that he would absolutely deserve to be crushed by metal robotic bits being
put in the same places as Bones, because this kid is just a damn menace that seemingly doesn't want to take responsibility for any of his actions. And you know what? None of you hold him accountable either. Gregory orders the robots to disassemble Vanny. Quote, okay? Gregory being willing to kill Vanny is already pretty messed up, but while some would argue self-defense, this is not self-defense. Self-defense requires a reasonable amount of force to be used, okay? Tearing a person limb from limb is not reasonable force. This kid is easily able to destroy all 3 animatronics without a moment's hesitation and then use their upgrades on Freddy. He is willing to kill Vanny, like I said, despite actually seemingly knowing her like we see in the best ending, and then he burns Burn Trap multiple times in an attempt to stop him from taking control over Freddy, but again, he's also just setting fire to this thing all the time. So like, what the absolute living hell is this kid doing? And how is he so nonchalant about this whole thing? Okay, this guy literally kills Vanny and then only gets emotional when he has to go talk to a destroyed Freddy robot that they can remake. Dude, Vanny's literally bleeding out right next to you. I'm sure that her ribs are just splayed across the floor. Dude, couldn't you have just said like stop Vanny or restrain Vanny? Stop Vanny would have been the easiest one, not freaking disassemble. Okay, you're not panicking about literally anything else in this game. Okay, just say something that doesn't involve a human dying, for God's sakes, okay? Stop Vanny! You're like, dude!
Finally, in at number 1, Baby. Originally known as Elizabeth Afton when she was alive, Circus Baby is the primary antagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. The soul of William Afton's daughter resides within her, alongside Baby's own consciousness. In FNAF 5, she removes her endoskeleton from her costume, and her fellow animatronics end up combining to create Ennard. So, she's already been on this list in the form of Ennard, and not only that, but she's also the reason Ennard was seemingly so brutal. Plus, she was also on this list because of Charlotte, however that's the books. In the games, she pretends to be our friend the whole time in Sister Location, keeping us alive so that we would trust her, only to get tricked into going to the scooping room, where she could then forcefully enter our body and escape. Like top 10 anime betrayals, and Baby is at the top of this list. It's like she pretended to be our friend for the whole season of the show, but in the second last episode she's revealed to be the villain. Not to mention the various versions that she has in FNAF AR, like Broiler and Heartsick Baby? No thank you, sir. And those goddamn plush babies are just as bad. And they're goddamn plushies. Baby is the scariest FNAF villain that isn't Afton, and that's why she's tops this list. In at 10, Donald Harvey. Harvey belonged to a group of psychos known as the Angels of Mercy, who claimed to kill for the benefit of their victim. Harvey was convicted of 37 of his more than 57 suspected murders, and he had also confessed to as many as 87. When Harvey was hired at Cincinnati VA Medical Hospital, he managed to collect over 30 pounds of cyanide, which he kept in his home. He also kept diaries and detailed notes on each of his victims, including how he killed them. This gives me intense William Afton vibes, okay? Not for some certain reasons, but for the delusion of him thinking that he was doing it for the victim's benefit, but still doing it in horrifying ways. It's the exact same kind of delusion that I could see William having, and a similar delusion to what he seems to have in the games. In the books, I don't think he's like this exactly, but his game version certainly seems the type, especially given his appearance in the Foxy Go 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 minigame where he's smiling. And at 9, Raincoat Killer. Hailing from the Deadly Premonition universe, this video game villain is the launching point for the game's story. The murder of Anna Graham sparked renewed interest in the legend of the Raincoat Killer. After the arrival of FBI agent Francis York Morgan, Harry began to keep a close eye on the case, intervening at seemingly random moments. He uses his aide, Michael Tolleson, to convey messages to York, telling him to take it slow and to keep his mind open to all possibilities. As York tried to solve the case, the new killer showed up many times. As more evidence surfaced, it became clear that George Woodman was the new Raincoat Killer. He had sacrificed the woman of Greenvale in order to become immortal. Unfortunately for him, York was able to defeat him, ending the terror of the Raincoat Killer. Much like how, in the novels at least, William is searching for immortality thanks to the discovery of Remnant, and then is defeated by the Springtrap suit and Henry's multiple fires. Okay, well he would have been defeated if he wasn't possessed by his son, but I mean, like, there's still a parallel there, right? And at 8, The Ice Cream Man. Suggested to me by Amanda, the Ice Cream Man comic series is a horror anthology of loosely connected stories that all share the common link of a mysterious ice cream man named Rick, who's also revealed to be Ricardus.
who, while a seemingly ordinary ice cream man, possesses inexplicable powers which he uses upon unsuspecting people. Rick's nemesis Caleb, a man dressed in an all-black cowboy outfit, will sporadically appear in the series trying to thwart Rick's plans, sometimes successfully and sometimes unsuccessfully. Honestly, this kind of story is very reminiscent of William Afton and Henry's story, Afton being the ice cream man, which is ironic given what happened to Elizabeth, and Henry is Caleb trying to thwart William's plans, sometimes successful and sometimes not. But no matter what, William always comes back, just like the ice cream man. And ice cream man is very close to how I feel William acts with his victims. Like, he's all like warm and fuzzy, and then he just shoves you in the back of his freezing cold van and drives off.
And at 7, Fazbear Entertainment. I think arguably the biggest villain in the entirety of FNAF isn't even William, but rather Fazbear Entertainment. If we want to go like cause and effect, yes, William created Fazbear Entertainment. However, this company has gone on to do plenty of messed up things without him. Fazbear's Fright, reopening however many times they have, even though people are constantly killed at their locations. I'm sure plenty of other corporate crimes as well, like espionage and fraud. Oh, and the entirety of FNAF AR, since they're intentionally sending out animatronics that they know are messed up to families all over the world. One of the higher ups of the company is still working for Afton, as we learn from Security Breach's lore baskets, since someone very influential at the company recommended Vanessa for security guard despite her having no prior experience. And I mean, come on, someone had to pull the strings to build on where the FNAF 6 pizzeria was. So, in my eyes, the biggest villain is Fazbear Entertainment in general. However, this isn't a biggest villains list, it's the scariest villains list, so they're only number 7. And at 6, Thomas Lee Dillon. Thomas Lee Dillon was a serial sniper found guilty of killing 5 people. Directed by the voices in his head, Dillon killed people randomly. According to attending psychiatrists, Dillon's delusions of grandeur spilled over into the reality of his life and the lives of his victims. His victims were killed by a high-powered rifle while they participated in outdoor activities, sometimes hundreds of miles from Dillon's home. Authorities did not link them to Dillon until he had sent a letter to the local paper. After the FBI put together a criminal profile of the killer, a friend of Dillon's brought him to the attention of the authorities, which in my mind at least is nearly identical to the story of William Afton. The amount of the first victims, the authorities only investigating the murders after they got tipped off by a friend of the killer, in Afton's case that being Henry, and eventually you'll see that there are quite a few similarities to multiple real people, and it's scary. At least when people compare me to Afton, it's because I wear purple. Halfway through into number 5, William Afton. William is at number 5 because, well, he absolutely did deserve to be a Springlock victim, but he also actually was, and seemingly is the only one who actually was on this list. But like, for real, this man deserved what he got in more ways than one. Seriously. He was a mass murderer who would have gotten a lethal injection anyway, but also the technician that made the suits, the man that handles the suit maintenance on the daily, and is absolutely explained to every single employee that has put one of these fuckers on the proper procedure for the Springlock suits. Mostly for tax and liability reasons, probably, okay? But including the Spring Bonnie suit that he uses to kill people, okay? Then he gets inside one without thinking and somehow doesn't notice the moisture in the room, the leaking ceiling causing the spring locks that were active at this moment to fail and just fill him full of metal, okay? But like, it's your building, my guy. How are you not painfully aware of the leaking ceiling in this back room? Really? Like, how? How do you not know? Seriously, somehow this lucky motherfucker managed to get possessed by someone that he killed who was so pissed at him that they kept him alive for all of his other supposed to be deaths. Because they wanted William to suffer. Like, god damn it. No matter who it is, whether you believe it was Crying Child or Cassidy, despite there being a more logical conclusion when you don't just blindly listen to MatPat, like, why? Why couldn't you just let him die? I get that you want him to suffer, okay, obviously. I mean, I put him on this list. I wanted him to be spring-locked. But like, doing that results in him killing more people. So why? Why would you do that? And at 4, John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer who killed at least 33 young men and boys. Gacy regularly performed at children's hospital and charitable events as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown, personas that he had devised. He became known as the Killer Clown due to his public service as a clown prior to the discovery of his crimes. Gacy committed all of his murders inside of his ranch house. Typically, he would lure a victim to his home and then dupe them into donning handcuffs with the pretext of demonstrating a magic trick. And while this is absolutely disgusting and makes me sick
sick to my stomach, there are still a few similarities to Afton. Killing in a place that's related to you, for instance, Gacy, it was his home, and for Afton it's his business. The target demographic was also the same with young people, although Afton is a bit more diverse and killed girls as well. And while you may think that this is a stretch, even FNAF made the connection with FNAF AR through the Clown Springtrap skin. I mean, come on. Dude, if that's not a giveaway, I don't know what is. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Charlotte. Charlotte Emily, otherwise known as Charlie, is the main protagonist of the novels Five Nights at Freddy's The Silver Eyes and The Twisted Ones, and the secondary protagonist of The Fourth Closet. In The Silver Eyes, Charlotte is described to be a teenage girl with a round face and rosy cheeks, with brown wide eyes that glisten, and frizzy light brown hair. She wears a white t-shirt, black jeans, combat boots, and denim jacket, and it always looks like she's about to smile, somehow. And despite her sweetness and kind personality, she likes to be independent, and she doesn't actually get captured by William, but it's a long story, okay? In the books, she's actually the one who kind of killed William in the spring Bonnie suit, even though I guess now we know that he didn't actually die in that suit, but she also finds it hard to trust people. However, what makes her a villain isn't her trust issues, it's actually because unbeknownst to her, she is an animatronic robot that was meant to replace the daughter that Henry had lost. But it's also revealed that the animatronic is also the baby animatronic that we know and love, who can switch between her forms at will. And the human version of the animatronic doesn't remember being baby. This human animatronic also looks a lot like an actual human. It can even bleed. So yeah, Charlotte in the books is also baby. That's pretty damn freaky. But ultimately, in at number 2, Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is a fictional character created by novelist Thomas Harris. Lecter is a serial killer who eats his victims. Before his capture, he was actually a respected forensic psychiatrist, and after his incarceration he is consulted by FBI agents Will Graham and Clarice Starling to help them find other serial killers. His most iconic appearance being in Silence of the Lambs and the often misquoted line of "Hello Clarice, have the lambs stopped screaming?" And while you may not be able to find any similarities between Afton and Lecter, this one is actually confirmed as inspiration. At least for his voice. According to his voice actor PJ Haywood, in Sister Location, Afton's voice is inspired by Hannibal Lecter, in a way that he's unnervingly calm even when he's about to kill someone, which is supported by some of his novel counterparts' quotes. So yes, while it's not directly inspiring Afton, it inspired his voice. And finally, in at number 1, Robert Burdella. Robert Burdella is to me the seemingly perfect inspiration for William Afton. Not only did this man own a business called Bob's Bizarre Bazaar, where he reportedly sold human skulls, he also seemingly started killing in 1984. The MO is certainly not the exact same. Burdella would drug and kidnap men that he met at bars or on the streets, but the same idea of killing people you meet in a restaurant is carried over to William Afton. There is no confirmed inspiration for William, but there are certainly a decent amount of similarities between these two. In fact, if you combine the 4 real serial killers I put on this list, Harvey, Dylan, Gacy, and Burdella, you would end up getting basically a real William Afton. I didn't go into much detail with these because, well, YouTube might get mad at that, especially when I'm comparing them to a fictional serial killer from a video game series, but who knows? Either way, I think it's a pretty solid combo of 4 killers, and that's kinda freaky.